Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. If you have a 2022 Toyota 4Runner and you're looking for a cargo carrier that's going to help you maximize space and be easy to use if you're on something like a road trip or a camping trip, then I think the etrailer hitch-mounted cargo carrier could be a really great option for you. Let's check it out. Now the 4Runner is an extremely capable vehicle and you've got tons of cargo space in the back. But if you're loaded up with passengers and you've just got too much stuff to carry with you, or you've got things that you don't want to put inside your vehicle, say like an extra large cooler or maybe a generator, a cargo carrier like this is an excellent place to go. And if you're looking to maximize both space and capacity, then this is really the way to go, because inside dimensions of usable space front to back, you're working with 24 inches and you've got 60 inches of space from side to side. Pair that up with the durable black powder coated steel and the 500-pound weight capacity, and this is going to be able to really handle whatever you throw at it. And with the 4Runner being a more capable vehicle, being able to accept a heavier tongue weight on the hitch, you should be able to get the fullest capacity out of this as well. Now, one of the other things that really sets this carrier apart is the ability to tilt away from the vehicle when it's loaded with cargo and give you easier access to the back, and fold up for storage when it's not in use, but you still want to leave it in the hitch. Because of that, the shank is going to be extra long and it will stick the carrier out quite a bit further from the back of the 4Runner. To be a bit more specific with that though, we can get a measurement. I'm going to be going from the bumper to the furthest point out on the carrier, which is right at 44 inches. So that's something you really have to be mindful of as you're driving around, pulling into parking spaces, even changing lanes on the highway, because that is a lot of added length, almost 4 feet. Now, what that does leave you with though is a ton of room here in the middle. So when you do go to tilt it away and pull the pins in the middle, you've got a ton of room, even if you do have stuff loaded up here. What that's gonna look like is just pulling the 2 pins and clips on the shank there and just applying a little bit of upward pressure on the carrier when you do that, so you probably would need a second set of hands if you're loaded up with gear here. And that lets you tilt things away. So long as your cargo is properly strapped down, it's not going to be going anywhere. And it's going to allow you to open up the back hatch of your vehicle and gain full access into the back. So if you've got some luggage that you need to get out, you don't have to compromise any features of your vehicle to use the carrier. Now the other thing though is with your 4Runner having that sliding back glass window, then you may not need to even tilt it all the time anyway, but if you do, it's an option and it's going to make it a lot easier to use your vehicle. And with the carrier folded back up, here's a better look at what I'm talking about. Having the space to walk in here, lower that back glass, and be able to reach into your cargo space is going to mean that you really don't have to interact with the cargo carrier a whole lot if you don't want to. It's really just a concern if you need to get something larger out or if you've stacked your stuff up really high. Now with this sticking out so far from the back of the 4Runner, you probably want to know what your ground clearance is looking like. And luckily we're sitting right around 18.5 inches, really without any weight resting on it, 19. And that's kind of bringing me to my point. The more you have this loaded down with gear, especially sitting so far back, it will drop the suspension on your vehicle a little bit and change that ground clearance. But in the shank, there's a built-in rise. The 4Runner is already a tall vehicle, so I don't imagine you'll really find yourself in that many situations where it's so weighed down that you start to scrape up steep driveways and hills, but it's still something to watch out for if you take your 4Runner on some rougher terrain maybe. And that's just gonna look like this. Once it gets upright, take that pin and just slide it in the bottom with the holes that are now aligned properly to keep it locked in. There's a bit of wiggle room there, but it's going to keep anything from hitting the vehicle, keep it held upright, and make it a lot easier to drive around and park with, because this new measurement from the bumper to the furthest point out, it's only 18 inches here. So that makes it a lot easier to manage. The one thing to watch out for is that when it's folded up, it will be blocking your license plate and backup camera a fair bit. Luckily with the mesh, you can still see the license plate and you might get a bit of visibility out the backup camera, but I'd strongly rely on your mirrors and your back window to really get the best visibility. Now taking a look at the hitch, it's going to be sliding inside of our 2" by 2" receiver tube. And it comes with an anti-rattle bolt that keeps things pretty solid in that hitch, so you don't have to worry about any excess shake or play. And especially when you load this down with cargo, that will provide a bit of downward pressure to help keep things still too. The one thing that's really unique about this is the included hitch pin alignment collar. That's just going to be something that when you first set this up in your hitch, you push that collar against the edge of your receiver tube, you tighten down the wing nuts at the top or bottom, wherever you decide to put them, and it stays there. So every subsequent time we put the cargo carrier into the hitch, it's going to hit that collar and align the hitch pin hole on the first try. With this being a larger, heavier steel cargo carrier, I can't express enough how cool this is to have, because it's just going to make the setup process easier. Really having to hunt for the hitch pin hole and slide it in and out and constantly be readjusting, it gets pretty tiring. So having this set up for your vehicle and always knowing that it's going to be there is going to just enhance the experience when you do go to use this, whether it be for those once-a-year vacations or quick trips to the hardware store. So if you're looking for a carrier on your 4Runner that can really do it all, I'd strongly recommend the etrailer carrier. Just because that folding and tilting feature is something that you don't often see with a hitch-mounted cargo carrier. And if you're taking your vehicle on long trips, I think it's an absolute must. It's just going to make the whole thing a lot easier for you when you're leaving it in the hitch for a long period of time. But if you're not taking your vehicle on long trips and it's more a quick trip to the hardware store or maybe like a small weekend getaway and you don't find yourself loading it up with that much cargo, then I think this is just a bit much for most people because it is a bit heavier, it is a bit bulkier, and it does stick out really far from the back of the 4Runner. And for those people, I would recommend looking at an aluminum cargo carrier. Flint Hill Goods makes one that's almost the exact same size as this basket, but it sits a lot closer to the vehicle. It's much lighter and it has the same weight capacity, so you still get a lot of capability out of it, but in a much smaller, lighter footprint. But it's going to be a completely fixed carrier, so it's not going to be the best for those people taking longer trips. But again, this is just our look at the etrailer hitch-mounted cargo carrier and seeing how it fits in the back of our 2022 Toyota 4Runner. My name's Aiden, and thank you for watching.